Harvard University, a symbol of elite academia and liberal tradition, is now caught in a head on collision with President Donald Trump's administration. A clash not just about funding or free speech, but about the very soul of American education and who gets to shape its future. For years, Harvard had largely stayed out of the MAGA crosshairs, but that era is over. President Alan Garber has publicly refused to bow to pressure from Washington, declaring Harvard will not surrender its independence or its constitutional rights. And with that, the nation's oldest university has walked into the storm. Columbia University on Tuesday adopted a tougher tone towards Trump administration and pledged that it would not allow the government to require us to relinquish our independence and autonomy. In a statement released by the acting president, the Ivy League university said that they reject heavy-handed orchestration from the government that could potentially damage our institution and undermine useful reforms. To millions of Trump supporters, Harvard is the embodiment of disconnected elite, an institution seen as out of touch with real American values. Trump's rhetoric paints universities like Harvard as hotbeds of far-left activism promoting woke agendas on race and gender. And he's not alone. Polls show growing distrust in higher education, especially among Republicans. But this isn't just culture war politics, it's a coordinated power move. The Trump administration's crackdown on universities fits into a wider pattern, a campaign to reshape and, in some cases, dismantle the institutions it sees as liberal strongholds. The courts, the federal bureaucracy, the media, and now academia. Trump's immigration policies have cast a shadow over campuses across the country. Some international students have been detained, others had their visas revoked. The message is clear: dissent has consequences. And then came the funding freeze. The White House has frozen $2.2 billion in federal funds to Harvard, demanding sweeping changes in return. Those demands include a full audit of departments accused of anti-Semitism or bias, the elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, a rollback of race, religion, or sex-based hiring, crackdowns on student protests and clubs, particularly pro-Palestinian groups, investigations into past campus activism following the Hamas attacks. Critics say these demands amount to an unprecedented power grab. This confrontation didn't emerge out of nowhere. In December 2023, then Harvard President Claudine Gay was grilled by New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, herself a Harvard alum, over how the university handled anti-Semitic incidents during campus protests. Gay's resignation soon followed. Stefanik, meanwhile, rose as a star in the MAGA universe, now leading the charge to punish her alma mater. But the administration's tactics go beyond policy. At Columbia, Tufts, and Harvard, student arrests have begun to send shockwaves across campuses. Columbia graduate Muhammad Khalil, a legal resident and vocal Palestinian advocate, was deported, not for any crime, but for allegedly undermining US policy. At Tufts, student Rumeisa Öztürk says she was detained by masked officers, then held in inhumane conditions. Another Columbia student, Mohsen Mahdavi, was taken into custody during his citizenship interview. And Ranjani Srinivasan fled to Canada after learning her visa was cancelled despite no involvement in campus protests. Civil rights lawyers warn this isn't just targeting protests, it's a direct assault on due process and free speech. Former Harvard President and Treasury Secretary Larry Summers calls the government's approach extra-lawful, a deliberate effort to intimidate and control independent institutions. And that's exactly what Trump wants. If Harvard backs down, he wins by flexing federal power. If Harvard resists, He gets the fight he wants, and another reason to rally his base against the so called liberal elite. Because for the mega movement, the Ivy League is not just a symbol, it's the battlefield. This is more than just a funding battle or a free speech debate. It's a high stakes test of how far a government can go in reshaping or silencing the country's centers of learning. And Harvard, once a place where presidents are made, now finds itself facing one it cannot ignore.